In this video, we'll explore the very real possibility that Hitler made a fantastic escape from justice with some help from unexpected sources. For the past 7 decades, it's been widely accepted that Adolf Hitler died on April 30th, 1945 at the age of 56, having taken his own life in a bunker. His wife, Eva Braun, also died having bitten into a cyanide capsule. Now, according to the official account, the bodies were found and identified by the Soviets and then transported. But what if the truth was hidden from us all along? With the unveiling of declassified FBI documents and supporting photographs that have surfaced, there is a strong suggestion that the most infamous leader in history didn't die in a bunker at all, but instead fled to South America and lived out his days in peace in the Andes Mountains. According to the documents, the Führer may have escaped by submarine to Argentina, where at the end of the Second World War, he resided in a ranch under heavy security. In a remarkable collection of documents, also it reveals here that J. Edgar Hoover's FBI were well aware of this since the very beginning. Even more shocking, Hitler and Braun may have actually received assistance from none other than Allen Dulles, the OSS director and later CIA director, in staging their suicide and daring escape. One FBI document from Los Angeles reveals that they were well aware of 2 submarines dropping off high-ranking Nazi officials as it approached the Argentinian coast. Now, I want to stress at the beginning here that this collection seems to not be the only collection of documents that have surfaced supporting this theory, but that other documents from other agencies have also surfaced that would lead us in the direction of this conclusion. However, according to the Bureau officials who initially filed the reports, there is a lack of sufficient information to support the story, and it's unclear as to whether the sources are telling the truth. Now, obviously, if he was being helped by Dulles and the OSS, it's not a stretch to see that the FBI would publicly discredit any information on his escape. There are 4 sets of documents from the FBI's vault archives that we'll be addressing in this video. They're quite lengthy, totaling over 700 pages, so I've been very selective and I've picked out some interesting sections and I'll read through some of them here. As usual, I've posted a link to the documents in their entirety in the description box below. This is the first page of the first set. It's a case file from Los Angeles dated September 21st of 1945 titled Report on Hitler Hideout. It reads, Security Matter G. Redacted person reports contact with Redacted, claims to have aided 6 top Argentine officials in hiding Adolf Hitler upon his landing by submarine in Argentina. Hitler reported to be hiding out in foothills of southern Andes. Information obtained by Redacted from Redacted, unable to be verified because of, again, redactions, disappearance. It continues here. Was one of 4 men who met Hitler and his party when they landed from 2 submarines in Argentina approximately 2.5 weeks after the fall of Berlin. Redacted person continued that the first sub came close to shore about 11 p.m. after it had been signaled that it was safe to land, and a doctor and several men disembarked. Approximately 2 hours later, the second sub came ashore, and Hitler, 2 women, another doctor, and several more men, making the whole party arriving by submarines. Approximately 50 were aboard. By pre-arranged plan with 6 top Argentine officials, packed horses were waiting for the group, and by daylight all supplies were loaded on the horses and an all-day trip inland toward the foothills of the southern Andes was started. At dusk, the party arrived at the ranch where Hitler and his party, according to redacted person, are now in hiding. Redacted person most specifically explained that the subs landed along the tip of the Valdez Peninsula, along the southern tip of Argentina in the Gulf of St. Matias. According to Redacted, Hitler is suffering from asthma and ulcers, has shaved off his mustache, and has a long bud on his upper lip. Now, as you can see from these photographs here, which have surfaced, it would be natural that he would have altered his appearance in some way after the escape. This one here is an interesting piece. It's a handwritten letter speculating that Hitler may be alive and in New York City of all places. What's fascinating is that it is initialed JFK. It's known that Kennedy had in fact speculated on the Führer's possible survival, so let's read through it. Dear Sir, I'll bet $1 to a donut that Hitler is located right in New York City. There's no other city in the world where he could so easily be absorbed. No doubt you have considered this possibility, but I mention it for what it's worth anyway, and it's signed JFK. Here we have a memorandum dated November 13th, 1945 to Mr. Redacted from the American Embassy in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It is from J. Edgar Hoover, and the subject reads, Hitler Hideout in Argentina, Security Matter G. The Bureau is in receipt of a report from the Strategic Services Unit of the War Department dated October 23rd of 1945 concerning the possibility of a Hitler hideout in Argentina. This report is as follows, and it goes on at length to give various reasons as to why he may still be alive. You can read it in its entirety. I'm not going to read through it here, but I've linked it below. This next memorandum here is dated July 31st, 1946. On June 28, 1946, Special Agent Redacted called upon, again, redacted name, Lancaster, pursuant to his request that an agent contact him to obtain some material which had been found and turned over to him, which indicated that Adolf Hitler was alive. Number 1. Envelope addressed to Redacted, containing an undated letter to him signed by redacted person. At the top of the letter appears a list of 6 new members of our organization, and in the body thereof appears inter alia the statement, I heard that on August 19, 1946, our dear and beloved Hitler will come out from the hiding place and give an address to the secret organization of Argentina, which numbers about 200 members, all from the father country. This letter also indicated that the writer was about to sail for Argentina. This is a letter from October 3rd of 1946. It is addressed to Mr. Walter Winchell, who was a gossip columnist at the time, from the New York Journal. Dear Mr. Winchell, your broadcast of September 29th, 1946 at 9:15 p.m., you mentioned that the United States and Russia had spent lots of money, are still doing so in effort to find Hitler when he is in the United States. Here again, we have yet another suspicion that he may have at least spent some time in the United States after the war, that both sides were still actively looking for him a year later, implying that there was no certainty whatsoever of his death nor of his whereabouts. Translation from the Spanish. Investigation Department, Washington, D.C., Mexico, May 30th, 1948. Hasn't Adolf Hitler died? This is the hope of every investigator in the United States, because none of them have been able to locate the hiding place of the German dictator. Here's another letter to the FBI, it looks like from October of 1952, and it reads, Federal Bureau of Investigation, I have positive proof that Hitler is living. Straight to the point, no idea who this came from, but it was added to the collection. Here we have a letter, and it's labeled a special agent in charge in Cincinnati to the director, dated February 17th, and the year is cut off, but I'm guessing from the date of the body of the document that it's 1955. And it reads here, January 19th, 55, containing information that subject alleged he had seen Adolf Hitler in Buenos Aires approximately 4 or 5 years ago. CIA has requested that subject be interviewed for additional information. You should therefore interview subject with reference to the report that he saw Adolf Hitler in South America, and also obtain identifying information concerning the subject. Now, I believe the CIA also has declassified some documents regarding Hitler's possible survival and escape, and I'll see if I can dig those up and make another follow-up video in the near future. This here is a headline from the United Press that reads, Nazi pilot says he flew Hitler and Eva to Denmark, and it's worth reading through here. Warsaw, December 18th. The trial of Ernest Baumgard, a former Luftwaffe officer, was interrupted by a 42-day adjournment today after he told a war crimes court he flew Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun to Denmark just before Berlin fell to besieging Russian forces. Baumgard, 32, was declared sane after a psychiatric examination 2 months ago, but the adjournment was ordered to carry out further investigations. Baumgard testified he flew Hitler and his mistress bride out of Berlin April 28, 1945, landed in Magdeburg to avoid Allied air fighters, and went on to Denmark April 29. The plane landed 45 miles north of the Eider River, Baumgard said. He testified Hitler and Eva waited 30 minutes for another plane, which picked them up and set out for an unknown destination. Hitler paid him off with a check for 20,000 Reichsmarks, drawn on a Berlin bank, Baumgard said. This is really interesting. Here we have another headline, Report Soviets Not Convinced Hitler Dead. From Halle, Germany, December 19th. High Soviet officials are still not convinced Hitler is dead, despite the overwhelming circumstantial evidence that he is, a Red Army officer close to Soviet occupation headquarters said today. This next article here I found is worth reading through at length if we can. Der Führer still may be alive, Russian Marshal warns world. We have not discovered any corpse which could be listed as his, Red says. Berlin, June 9th. The great mystery of the whereabouts of Adolf Hitler, dead or alive, deepened today as Soviet Marshal Zhukov warned that the Nazi Führer may not be dead. We have not discovered any corpse which could be identified as Hitler's, the Russian military leader said flatly. Zhukov said that Hitler married Eva Braun, his closest female friend, for many years, only 2 days before Berlin fell. It goes on here. Previously, high Russian sources had claimed that a body, almost certainly identified as Hitler's, had been found in the great underground fortress beneath the, and it cuts off here, and continues here on the other side. The Russian officer had said that we have found several bodies which might be Hitler's, but we cannot yet state that he is dead. The most authoritative previous report on Hitler said that 4 bodies had been found in Hitler's underground hideout, charred by bombs and flamethrowers. They were examined exhaustively, and unnamed but reportedly high Russian sources said. So obviously, as we can see here from the small bits that we've gone through in this video, and believe me, we've just scratched the surface. Contrary to what we've always been told and almost accepted as truth, and even read now in some history books, there is no concrete evidence that Hitler ever died that day on April 30th. Quite the opposite. Actually, it seems that no one really knew what happened to him, and there was much speculation at the time as to his escape and whereabouts. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.